We live in dangerous times. It's a somewhat ominous statement, no? The hallmark of the political whenever something needs changing. Very Bob Dylan. Let us consider then, and I hope you'll come along with me, dear viewer, and analyse this staple statement of the media and politicians whenever an agenda needs pushing. We live in dangerous times is not unique to any particular side of the political compass. In fact, it capitalises on the fact that adversity is the catalyst that drives progress more so than any other factor. Psychologists like Steven Pinker have examined phrases such as the good old days in terms of empirical evidence and found them wanting in the past. He asserts that quality of life has dramatically improved. Global literacy is up, global violence is down, life expectancy and ageing populations are continually growing, whilst the number of people in absolute poverty, defined as being on less than $1.90 a day by the World Bank, has been steadily decreasing. The extent to which this is caused by technological improvement and the spread of democracy, up to nearly 6 in 10 countries now, compared to 3 in 10 in the 50s according to Pew Research Centre, is debated. I think back to my childhood in the 90s and the differences I saw then compared to now, simply over this relatively short time period. The spread of the internet has been unprecedented, access to information has dramatically increased and become infinitely more affordable. You would be hard-pressed in this day and age to find a household without a form of satellite television, or unable to afford basic goods in my area, compared to when I remember only one family having anything other than terrestrial TV. I recognise this is my lived experience, and a little anecdotal, but can anyone in the UK in particular claim that life has become anything but more comfortable in general in the past few decades? I know my family would not holiday when I was young, more than perhaps once in 3 years or so, whereas I am bombarded nowadays by people taking multiple holidays per year and bemoaning that they have had to cut their winter break short to extend their summer holidays. These are not the middle class saying this, but labourers, builders, and retail employees on lower-end salaries. Suffering seems to be something more alien to the human experience in the West than ever before. The average Brit is comfortable, able to make their bills, heating, electricity, can afford luxuries such as regular holes, smoking, drinking, television packages, and so on. We are taken care of medically by the NHS, inefficient as it is. We have more free time than ever before, and death comes from a mixture of stupidity, suicide, and natural causes we haven't solved yet but are working towards. Even then, the diseases we have dealt with ensure that deaths to the flu, TB, MMR, common cancers, tetanus, etc. are decreasing rapidly as well. We face a different set of challenges, namely mental health problems, personal isolation, and self-control in the day-to-day. But the tangible harms of yesteryear are a thing of the past. Not to devalue the threats of mental health or the damage it can do, but you are far less likely to be killed by outside factors nowadays, like being hit by a car, suffering a car crash, a work-related accident, or, by a so-called act of God, seeing as safety in transit has drastically increased, alongside precautions for workers, compensation schemes, and the ever-growing connectivity of the world making tracking fault easier than ever. So do we really live in dangerous times? In general, no, I don't think so. I think most people experience very little real danger in their lives, both from themselves and from outside factors. They are happy to carry on during the daily grind, perhaps not totally satisfied, but secure, surviving, and with a few little luxuries too. To what do I attribute this? Well, to none other than the spread of Western values coupled with improving tech. This link is key because Western values are the most advanced in the world. I don't say that to put down other cultures or societies, but it is fact that Western societies have the freest citizens and the most profitable, rapidly advancing economies, something that is due to the embrace of the liberal values, such as individualism, blind justice, and democracy, and not, as some would claim, as a product of the oppression of the less developed world. Instead of dangerous times, I think we live on the cusp of them. The lean towards tolerance being the virtue by which society is judged, rather than accepting that the majority culture in the West is best, and that enforcing its laws and practices in its nations will breed tolerance as a consequence of these values, is a real threat to what has been so hard fought for in the past. Where this tolerance is enforced, we see a double standard emerge, where those who have been decreed to be tolerated have a sort of leg up to claim that any claimed injustice against them is due to a lack of this tolerance. This is readily apparent in the Muslim population of the UK, for instance, from whom have come the worst atrocities of the decade. I will be quick to state that the majority of Muslims are really just getting on and are quite moderate, with the exception of some beliefs that they are free to impose on themselves and not others. However, the dregs from the bottom of their particular group identity are allowed to get away with disgusting acts because we are told they must be tolerated and that not to do so is Islamophobic. This is the primary cause of the Islamic problem in the UK, as I have outlined in a previous video, more so than an inherent issue with the religion itself in this country. But back to my original point about the claim that people are being intolerant towards a group such as Muslims. Statistically, Muslims are 90 to 110 times less likely to be the victim of a violent assault than a non-Muslim. This is a shocking statistic to me, given that we are told on the daily that Islamophobia is rife within British society, and it is indicative that we lie on the cusp of danger. The danger will arise in locations where liberal values clash with another one of these groups' values, be they the gay community, LGBT, Muslim, gang, single mothers, or any other departure from what I would describe as normalised behaviour under a liberal democracy. I do not mean to suggest that these people should not be tolerated. Quite the contrary. My point is that they are given special credence to supersede liberal values without the rightful attitude that you may live how you want, but some ways of living are better than others. I may disagree with how you live, but I will tolerate you because you are not directly harming me or others. In the areas where these clashes are happening today, the danger is very real, as we have seen with the grooming gang scandals, with domestic violence in LGBT couples, with the decline of the nuclear family and the failure to address men's issues and so on. Those that are being directly harmed, that are suffering due to the battle that happens in their lives, are living in a world so alien to the majority of the British public that it seems not to be real. It is not relatable. They cannot comprehend past the cushy world they live in, although they may proselytise on behalf of the so-called oppressed. The times we live in are not yet truly dangerous, but if we allow the current decline to continue, we certainly will be. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving a like and a subscription. It really helps me out, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.